Madam Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, the interesting thing about the prominence of these things online, in print or in the big box, is that it's often self correcting. That is to say, fans and people who know a lot about these things are often able to share their opinions because, yo, if I had $1 for every time someone shared an opinion without me asking, especially when it's about mental health, I wouldn't be here. I'd have too much money already. That in and of itself becomes a self correcting mechanism that allows us to deal with the worst forms of this, which are misinformation, when people who experience it themselves and people who are experts are able to call it out and, as a consequence, make these things better, or even at worst, it just goes to show how the plot evolves, right? Meaning, oh, the mental health you say is not like that, well, fuck it. Like, that's what the character is experiencing. This is fictitious in and of itself, and it allows you access to another alternative you otherwise didn't expect or what doesn't work out in society. There are three questions and issues side government successfully answers. The first is, what does the prominence do and why is this good? The second is, how does this affect the individual and society looking at it from the outside? And thirdly, and I think most importantly, how does this marginally help people manage their trauma more? I'll answer all of these because they're all interrelated. But before that, a couple of responses which also serve as me also answering it through weighing. The first thing is, Baisa talked about how children can be exposed to this particular violence. My partner earlier talked to you about ways to fix it, which were not fully responded to, but we think in its worst case, it just allows people to be able to mature faster because it's only an eventuality that they're gonna be exposed to these things. In fact, I flip it and tell you that kids nowadays at a younger and younger age, as unfortunate as it is, are experiencing mental health issues with trauma, with depression, with anxiety, and even, God forbid, suicide. So, at a young age, if you're able to be exposed to these things, it allows you to unlock the benefits my first speaker talked about, which is empathy and understanding for yourself, when you don't feel like, oh fuck, I'm weird, this is just puberty, and you start validating the chemical imbalances that might happen, either because you're born with it or you play too much fucking Minecraft and Roblox and don't have a life. You need to be able to touch some grass. These are the very children we think are able to understand what these things are like when they're able to be exposed to it. And it's not like they exist in a vacuum. You also have parents, friends, educators, counselors, all of them there to be able to help. I posit that when they're able to see it, it validates it faster and allows them to get help if they want to. The second is on this idea about marketing it in a weird way. The movie they mentioned, which was like, yeah, bro, we're floral, but in reality, scary stuff happened. I mean, what do we expect? Like, is Blake Lively gonna like dox the ending or release it and say that this is portrayed to be happy and then it's gonna be bad? Like, no director's gonna do that because they wanna be able to make money. And we think the shock factor or the plot twist in and of itself reinforces the plot point that just makes it a bit more interesting. So, if you thought it was gonna be happy and then you came out shocked as fuck, then congrats, Blake Lively, you and your team impacted me in that way. Let's just be real, because I don't want to hear side opposition say some shit like, oh my god, I like watched the movie and now I want to kill myself even more, I'm gonna do it. Let's just be real in the real world. Even if these things are scandalous, traumatic, and dark, they are merely fiction. They are merely a subset of other things we experience in society that complement and understand our worldview. Third, with regard to how people can do things like OD or can become like a bit of a jerk, like what BoJack did to their friend, we think that these at best allow us to be able to see the darkest sides of what people are capable of. That's something my deputy mentioned, right? What these uniquely do is that it prepares you for the worst, wherein you can see what humans are truly capable of. And it also allows you to like learn from experience, meaning I saw BoJack go into alcoholism and wreck his life because they OD'd and stuff. Probably you would like imply that that's kind of bad because people die and that's kind of harmful and you don't want to be like addicted to society. So when we're able to like unlock those benefits outside looking in, given the arguments that we can make as rational debaters, we can really like understand how these things affect us, and as a consequence, what we can learn from that. Now let's defend the worst case wherein, oh my god, fuck, people watch these things and end up harming themselves because they get triggered. We think on our side, or on both sides, there are going to be people who will be successful in terms of self-harm, and that in and of itself is a disgrace. My empathy, my love, and my prayers to everyone who is thinking about that right now, or even has done it, or even, dare I say, successfully done these particular things. We're not here to change the world. I'm not a bullshit UN SDG. I'm here to just say that it marginally helps people on the middle be able to know more about it, and helps those who were once bigots be a tad bit less bigoted, just like myself, because in the past I thought that mental health was a joke and people just have to man up like Andrew Tate. But then when I started to experience these things and see media, I started to understand that, hey, these things should be validated. I shouldn't be too much of an asshole. What does our side tell you? We tell you uniquely, number one, that the prominence of this allows it to be normalized. It allows people to be more empathetic to themselves, and as a consequence be able to exercise the full range of emotions to make more proximate decisions. Number two, it affects society in a way that makes them more sensitized to these things and less of a bigot in the smallest of ways, from asking questions or being able to not judge your friend who's kind of fucking weird a tad bit less. And thirdly, and most importantly, it helps people deal with trauma because it shows them that they're not alone. It shows them that these things are normal, and that someone you might have a parasocial relationship with on the big screen because they look hot or are cool may also be deeper than what you actually might think. As they say, people are more than just the skin, right? We shouldn't want to be able to necessarily judge a book by its cover. And as a consequence, it allows us to be more empathetic to those experiencing trauma, and later on, even more prepared in the worst cases where we actually experience it. For all of these reasons, we are very proud to stand on side affirmative.